Early relationship red flags you shouldn't ignore. This will hurt you. The biggest mistakes in relationships rarely happen when everything is falling apart. They happen when everything feels perfect, when the connection feels effortless, when the conversations last for hours, when you feel excited every time your phone lights up, when you start believing you've finally found someone different from everyone else you've ever met. That's usually when people stop paying attention, not because they're careless, because they're hopeful. And hope has a way of making warning signs look harmless. The truth is that the most dangerous red flags rarely appear as obvious problems. They don't show up wearing a warning label. They show up disguised as something you've always wanted. They look romantic, exciting, passionate, protective, special. The person who gives you constant attention may later demand constant access to you. The person who seems deeply invested in you may later become controlling. The person who makes you feel chosen may eventually make you feel trapped. And that's why so many people miss the signs. Not because they don't see them, because they interpret them as proof of love. What makes this even more dangerous is that early red flags are often subtle. They're easy to explain away, easy to justify, easy to romanticize, until one day, the behavior that once made you feel special becomes the very thing causing you pain. Today, we're going to uncover some of the most overlooked warning signs that appear at the beginning of relationships. Not the obvious ones everyone talks about, the subtle ones. The ones that often feel good at first. The ones people mistake for chemistry, compatibility, and love. Because recognizing these signs early can save you from investing your heart in a relationship that slowly takes more from you than it gives. And the first red flag is one that many people secretly dream about experiencing, which is exactly why it's so easy to miss. At first, it feels incredible. You've barely known each other for a few weeks, yet it feels like you've known each other forever. The conversations are deep. The connection feels intense. They tell you they've never felt this way before. They say you're different, special, unlike anyone they've ever met. And if you're honest, part of you loves hearing it. Who wouldn't? Everyone wants to feel chosen. Everyone wants to feel unique. Everyone wants to believe they found something rare. That's why this red flag is so easy to miss, because it doesn't feel dangerous. It feels romantic. They start talking about the future almost immediately. Trips you'll take together, plans you'll make, the life you'll build. Sometimes they even use words like fate, destiny, soulmate, or meant to be. And while those words sound beautiful, there's something important to remember. Real trust takes time. Real intimacy takes time. Real love takes time. You cannot truly know someone after a few conversations, no matter how strong the chemistry feels. Healthy relationships grow. They don't rush. They allow space for both people to learn who the other person really is. But when someone pushes emotional intimacy faster than trust can naturally develop, something else may be happening. They may be trying to create attachment before you've had the chance to evaluate compatibility. Before you've seen how they handle conflict. Before you've seen how they respond to disappointment. Before you've seen who they really are when the excitement of the beginning fades. And that's the danger. Speed creates emotion. But emotion can sometimes hide reality. When everything moves too quickly, you don't have time to notice inconsistencies. You don't have time to ask difficult questions. You don't have time to see potential problems clearly. You simply get swept into the feeling, and feelings are powerful. But feelings alone don't build healthy relationships. Because sometimes the things that feel magical in the beginning are the very things that make it difficult to see what's actually happening. And speed isn't the only behavior that people mistake for love. Another one often feels even more flattering. Most people don't see jealousy as a red flag when a relationship is new. In fact, many people secretly enjoy it. Not extreme jealousy, just enough to feel wanted, just enough to feel important. When they ask who texted you, when they seem bothered by someone flirting with you, when they tell you they don't like the attention you receive from other people, at first it can feel flattering. It feels like proof that they care, proof that they value you, proof that they're afraid of losing you, and that's exactly why this red flag is so dangerous. Because possessiveness rarely introduces itself as possessiveness. It introduces itself as affection, as concern, as protection. The problem is that healthy love and control are not the same thing. Healthy love trusts, control monitors. Healthy love respects your independence. Control feels threatened by it. In the beginning, the comments may seem small. Why does that person keep liking your photos? Do you really need to spend so much time with them? I just worry about you. Nothing sounds alarming. Nothing sounds obviously toxic. But little by little, the message becomes clear. Your freedom starts making them uncomfortable. Your friendships become a problem. Your boundaries become negotiable. And before you realize it, you're changing your behavior to avoid making them upset. Not because you've done anything wrong, because keeping the peace feels easier. That's why early jealousy should never be automatically interpreted as proof of love. The question isn't whether someone cares about you. The question is how they handle those feelings. Do they communicate with trust and respect? Or do they try to manage your behavior to calm their own insecurity? Because those are two very different things. And sometimes the most revealing red flags aren't about what someone feels toward you. They're about what they quietly expect from you in return. This is one of the most overlooked red flags in the early stages of a relationship, because it doesn't feel like control. It feels like motivation. At first, you simply want them to like you. That's so normal. You care about their opinion. You value the connection, but then something subtle starts happening. You begin paying extra attention to their reactions. You notice when they're pleased with you. You notice when they're disappointed. You notice when their mood changes. And without realizing it, you start adjusting yourself accordingly. Maybe you stop mentioning certain interests because they don't seem impressed by them. Maybe you change the way you dress. Maybe you become more cautious about what you say, not because anyone demanded it directly, because you want their approval, and approval starts feeling like a reward. When they praise you, you feel relieved. When they seem distant, you feel anxious. When they approve of your choices, you feel secure. When they don't, you begin questioning yourself. That's when the relationship quietly starts feeling less like a partnership and more like a performance. You find yourself working for validation instead of simply being yourself. The problem is that healthy relationships don't require you to constantly earn your place. They don't make you feel like you're being evaluated. They don't leave you wondering whether you've done enough to deserve affection. Real connection allows authenticity. You don't have to become someone else to be loved. You don't have to edit your personality to keep someone interested. You don't have to continuously prove your worth, because the right person values who you are, not the version of yourself you create to gain approval. And when approval becomes the foundation of a relationship, something else usually begins happening. You stop expressing yourself as freely as you once did. Not because you've become more peaceful, because you're afraid of creating tension. And that's where another subtle red flag begins to appear. One of the clearest signs that something feels wrong in a relationship is not what you're saying. It's what you've stopped saying. Think about it. In a healthy relationship, honesty becomes easier over time. You feel comfortable sharing concerns. You feel safe expressing disagreement. You trust that difficult conversations won't threaten the connection. But in some relationships, the opposite happens. The longer you're together, the more you start holding things in. You tell yourself it's not worth mentioning. You tell yourself you're avoiding drama. You tell yourself you're choosing peace, but deep down, that's not what's happening. You're not staying quiet because you're peaceful. You're staying quiet because you're uncomfortable. Maybe every concern turns into an argument. Maybe every disagreement becomes a defense. Maybe every difficult conversation leaves you feeling guilty instead of understood. So you adapt. You stop bringing up certain topics. You stop asking certain questions. You stop expressing certain feelings. Not because they no longer matter, because you've learned that speaking honestly comes with a cost. At first, this seems like a small sacrifice, but over time, it becomes something much bigger. You begin filtering yourself. You begin editing your thoughts. You begin protecting the relationship at the expense of your own voice, and that's dangerous, because communication is not supposed to shrink in a healthy relationship. It should grow. You should feel more understood, not less. More comfortable, not more cautious. More free, not more restricted. When honesty starts disappearing, emotional distance often takes its place. And many people don't notice it happening until they're already feeling lonely inside the relationship itself, which leads to one of the most confusing red flags of all. A feeling that something isn't quite right. A feeling you can't fully explain. A feeling that leaves you questioning the relationship even when nothing obviously bad is happening. And that's where emotional confusion enters the picture. One of the biggest myths about relationships is the idea that confusion is a sign of chemistry. It isn't. Real chemistry can be exciting. It can be intense. It can even feel a little scary at times. But beneath all of that, healthy relationships create a growing sense of security. You know where you stand. You know how the other person feels about you. You don't spend every day trying to decode their behavior. That's why emotional confusion deserves more attention than it gets. Because many people ignore it. They assume they're overthinking. They assume they're insecure. They assume they just need more time. But sometimes confusion is information. Sometimes it's your mind trying to tell you that the words and actions aren't matching. One day, they're incredibly affectionate. The next day, they seem distant. One week, they talk about the future. The following week, they seem unsure about everything. They pull you closer. Then, they push you away. And because the good moments feel so good, you keep trying to make sense of the bad ones. You look for explanations. You make excuses. You tell yourself they're busy, stressed, overwhelmed. But the uncertainty never fully disappears. And over time, that uncertainty becomes exhausting. And when clarity is missing for long enough, something else starts happening. You begin feeling that something is wrong before you can even explain why. A feeling deep inside that doesn't come from logic. It comes from intuition. And that may be the most important red flag of all. Let's go back to where we started. The biggest mistakes in relationships rarely happen when everything is obviously wrong. They happen when everything feels right, when the attention feels exciting. You start paying more attention to their mood than your own feelings. You start focusing on where you stand instead of whether the relationship is actually healthy. That's the trap. When someone is consistently interested, you don't have to constantly wonder. When someone values the connection, their behavior reflects it. Not perfectly, but consistently. Because healthy relationships don't leave you feeling like you're solving a puzzle every day. They create clarity. When the connection feels intense, when the relationship seems too good to question. That's why early red flags are so dangerous. They don't arrive looking like problems. They arrive looking like possibilities, like romance, like passion, like proof that you found someone special. And that's exactly why so many people miss them. The person who moves too fast makes you feel chosen. The jealousy feels like devotion. The need for approval feels like love. The silence feels like keeping the peace. The confusion feels like chemistry. And the uncomfortable feeling in your gut feels easy to dismiss. Until one day, all those small moments connect, and you realize they weren't isolated incidents. They were patterns. That's the word I want you to remember. Patterns, not promises, not explanations, not potential, patterns. Because healthy relationships are built on consistency. They create trust. They create emotional safety. They allow you to become more of yourself, not less. The goal is not to become suspicious of everyone who enters your life. The goal is not to search for flaws in every relationship. The goal is to stop confusing intensity with compatibility, to stop confusing attention with respect, to stop confusing emotional highs with emotional health, and most importantly, to stop ignoring what your own experience is trying to tell you. Because when something consistently leaves you feeling anxious, confused, pressured, or disconnected from yourself, that's information worth paying attention to. The earlier you recognize these signs, the less likely you are to lose months or years trying to make the wrong relationship work. And sometimes, the greatest act of self-love is not finding the perfect person. It's recognizing the wrong one before they become a much bigger part of your life.